Welcome to week 8, 7th graders. So I'm going to try to make this video very brief, but I'm going to jump in between what the expectations are for my on-grade class and what the expectations are for my honors class because they are slightly different. So to begin with, as soon as you go into my Schoology page, go ahead and open up the COVID-19 folder, and you'll find week 8 right there. To do a quick recap of the week, give you an idea of what we're doing, the first thing is you will have Word Wizard this week, list 16. Know that it's going to be due on Friday, and remember these homework assignments are replacing quizzes. I still get a couple of questions here and there as to why we're doing the homework. The reason why is because we're not in the building to take the quiz. And remember, you can skip the real world challenge. You don't need to do that. Okay. The next thing is you are going to write a short essay. When I say short, I mean really short. You are going to be comparing and contrasting the Malala and Emma speeches to the United Nations. This is also going to be due on Friday. And please, guys, remember, if you have questions, just ask them. I am probably going to be releasing some kind of information, hopefully today or tomorrow, regarding Google Meet. I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard now that they are permitting students and teachers to meet through Google Meet. However, students need to bring in permission slips, and I'm thinking of doing something along the lines of a sign-up sheet. So if you're interested in signing up, you can put your name down in one of my slots, and we can have 10 minutes one-on-one, just kind of discussing what your questions or concerns may have. I haven't worked out every single detail yet, but just stay tuned because that will be coming very soon, and just there to help you if anybody needs it. So really quickly, again, slightly different for everyone, but here's what I'd like you to do. When you first go in, please check out this introduction video. Mr. Hunter put it together for us. When you open it, it's going to say this. That's fine. Just click the little box here, and it should open up for you. I'm hoping you guys won't have any issues, but if you do, please message me right away, and I will go ahead and touch base with Mr. Hunter to see if there's something we need to do in terms of the settings and changing it so that it's viewable by anyone with the link. Okay, so there's that first. I believe there's only 4 roots this week, so it's a very brief video, but just watch it. It's worthwhile. It, really helps you understand the roots, okay, and it's really well put together. After that, you have the assignment itself, and sorry guys, I'm not going to open up that honors versus on grade because it's essentially very similar. You guys know the difference. So when I open up the assignment here, thanks to Ms. Shupp, we've kind of changed the way it looks just to kind of avoid confusion. As soon as you go in, it'll give you the directions right there, and then you can jump right into finding examples and then putting them in a sentence. This has already been provided for you, okay? So, feel free to take a look at it. Okay, well, it looks like it is 6 roots. Okay, very good. So that's homework. You guys know for my first, second, and fourth period class, the only difference is you're doing 3 examples instead of 2, but it's the exact same assignment essentially. All right, that is due on Friday, May 22nd. Back to the folder. So this is a link for the directions I'm currently recording right now. And then this is the assignment. Okay, so for my on-grade class, you'll notice that the directions are just copied and pasted here, just so you have that to look at ahead of time if you want. When you open up the organizer, we really tried to break it down so it's easier for you guys. So the prompt states, now that you have read and listened to Malala Yousafzai and Emma Watson's address to the United Nations, you are to compare and contrast the central idea of both speeches by identifying how the speeches are the same and how they are different. Be sure to include text evidence from both speeches when comparing and contrasting. Feel free to go back and use previous material that's been posted. So for us guys, week 5, the week 5 folder is where you're going to find all the Malala stuff, and week 6 is where you're going to find all the Emma Watson stuff. Now, when I went through the form, there were a lot of you that seemed to struggle with identifying the central idea. And I know that because it's, I don't know, how can I say this? Because it's put in multiple choice option, I think that can throw students off. I think if you guys were to do this without the multiple choices, you wouldn't have been thrown off as much. But as I went through the results, there were definitely a lot of you that struggled with that. So if you've already submitted the form, you really can't access the form again. But I will tell you that most of those questions did come through the PDF. So if you go back and click on the PDF, that it's there. See, it's not even letting me get in. Hold on just a moment. Let me just take you through the PDF. That's probably easier anyway. So the PDFs are in the folder. I also linked them in the prompt. So when you come here, you'll click. And there it is once again. Okay, that's the speech. And remember, you can listen to it. That's also linked in the folder. This is the one I'd like you guys to focus on right here. And the same goes for my honors class. This is what I want you to focus on, this part. Okay, I already put the correct answer in for you. And I'm not saying everybody got it wrong. The majority of people got it right, but there were a few people who really were struggling with figuring this out. And unfortunately, because it's a part A, part B, if you got A wrong, you're going to get B wrong. So the central idea of Malala's speech is education is the most effective tool to improve the world and end inequality. So remember, Malala is stating that everyone should have a right to an education, including girls, because that is something that was not allowed in that country. Women weren't allowed to receive an education past a certain point, and that was an issue. That's kind of why Malala stood out. You know, she stood up against the government. She ended up being shot as a result of it. And she came back as a motivational speaker and obviously an activist fighting against this. Okay, so if we understand that the answer to this is education is the most effective tool to improve the world and end inequality, if I look here at the multiple choice questions as to which text evidence best supports that, the answer is right here, D. So let us wage a global struggle against illiteracy, poverty, and terrorism, and let us pick up our books and pens. They are the most powerful weapons. Okay? And what Malala is saying is that education is what makes us powerful. Knowledge is power. Having that knowledge is powerful. Okay? So in order for them to end this, that's the best way to do it. Okay, and remember, she's not just speaking about Pakistan specifically. There are lots of examples she brings in her speech about, other things that are happening in the world. And remember, her approach to this, similar to, Martin Luther King Jr. and Rosa Parks and a lot of the activists that we've talked about during the civil rights movement, was a nonviolent approach. Okay, Malala is not saying, oh, every woman in the world should equip herself with a gun and start fighting off the government so that they can get an education. That's not what she's saying. She's saying we need to have that education, or women need to have an education in order to be educated and to have that power, because that's where their knowledge comes from. Okay, so Malala says it much more eloquently than I do, but you guys understand when you're going through these questions again, that's essentially what she's saying. Okay, now, Emma Watson's speech is slightly different, okay? I will point out to you that both of them are talking about inequality. So if you haven't picked up on that already, please make sure that you're making note of that in this document. They are both talking about inequality. All right, so again, I advise you to do the same thing. You can scroll down to the multiple choice questions because that's where the central idea question came from. You'll notice they ask you about the central idea first, okay? Recent research and studies have shown us that really that's a question that should come at the end, okay? We've talked about this a little bit when we've talked about literacy equations, and we've talked about how author's word choice and author's point of view is what helps lead us to the central idea. So in the Google form, you'll notice it was purposely put at the end, okay? However, Common Lit puts them right in the beginning, okay? So again, some people struggled with this a little bit. The correct answer to what the central idea of what Emma was trying to say is that gender equality affects everybody, okay? It says, it's B. Emma Watson believes that gender inequality should not only be a concern for women, but men also. She brings in the example of how men are also, there's this stereotype, or there's this image of what a man is supposed to be and how that, hinders a lot of boys. or men. Okay, so she talks about how these stereotypical or traditional gender roles tend to really impact males and females. Okay, so she's saying this is not just about women, this is also about men. Okay, so looking at that, you can take a look at what the multiple choice questions here are asking. And let's see here. The correct answer is C. Sorry, I had to refresh my memory for just a second. How can we affect change in the world when only half of it is involved or invited or feels welcome to participate in the conversation? Okay, that's a big piece. It's a point of how exactly are we supposed to... Sorry, guys, excuse me, hold on. I didn't read this closely enough. The correct answer is D. C is one of those, it's almost right, but it's not completely right. Excuse me. The correct answer is D. I apologize for those of you watching. I'm recording this video at 5:23 in the morning, so I apologize. So the correct answer is I've seen men made fragile and insecure by a distorted sense of what constitutes male success. Men don't have the benefits of equality either. That's the correct answer. So when you're going through and you're trying to fill in this organizer for my on-grade kids, those are two particularly pieces of evidence that I'd expect to see in here. Okay, so, you find a place for them, but those are the text evidence from both speeches that are going to support, I would say, the differences of these speeches. Now, just to be fair to my honors class, I do want to show you really quickly what your assignment looks like. It is slightly different, not that much different, but the organization of it does look a little different. So when you go in, it's going to be the exact same prompt. Your prompt is the same. Your resources are the same. Okay. It's just instead of filling in an organizer, you're going to actually be writing paragraphs. Okay. So you'll see here, incredibly similar in every way. I still provide to you what the central idea is. I'm still encouraging you to look at the PDFs, go to previous material posted, except you are going to be writing actual paragraphs. So my guidance to you is do one paragraph for comparing and one paragraph for telling me how they're different. Now that you've watched this video, I purposely went through the on-grade. You have an idea of how I'm expecting this to be laid out. Okay, so tell me how they are similar. Provide some text evidence to support that. Tell me how they are different and provide some text evidence to support that. I still encourage you to be using that same text evidence that I just pointed out through the multiple choice questions. Okay. Anyway, guys, I'm almost out of time here. 13 minutes in. I only have 15 minutes. So please ask questions if you have them. Remember, stay tuned for those Google Meets. I'm hoping to get a sign-up sheet out soon, so you guys have that opportunity. Both of these assignments are due on the 22nd, which is Friday of this week. All right, thanks.